It's very important to know the accuracies when it comes to our history, and I'm making it my goal to make sure everyone is knowledgeable about the truth in regards to our ancestors in the Bible. Interesting Bible tidbit. What tribe of Israel was Samuel really from? While doing research, I found out something very interesting. Now we see here in 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 1, Elkanah was Samuel's father. And it says that he is from the region of Zuph in the hill country of Ephraim. And it says he was from Ephraim, right? It lists some of his lineage here. It says his father was Jehoram, and Elihu was his grandfather, Tohu was his great-grandfather, and Zuph was his great-great-grandfather. And it says of Ephraim. So the way this is worded, it is kind of confusing. And if you don't pay attention, you'll think that Samuel was Ephraimite. But he was actually not an Ephraimite. So this is the NIV version, and to me, this is the best one as far as translations, because I went through all translations to see which one explains it the best. And to me, the NIV explains it the best. So it says, there was a certain man from Ramathaim, a Zuphite from the hill country of Ephraim. So it says he was a Zuphite from the hill country of Ephraim, whose name was Elkanah, son of Jeroam, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, an Ephraimite. And that right there is what is confusing, the last part. So we know that Elkanah was a Zuphite. And you go down, it says Zuph, the son of Zuph, an Ephraimite. How can Elkanah be a Zuphite, but Zuph, where the Zuphite came from, was an Ephraimite? In 1 Chronicles chapter 6, so I'm going down to verse 22 through 28, but the title of this chapter is the Levites. So that means Samuel was actually a Levite, but he was not from the line of Aaron, the priest. He was from a different line. So if anybody knows about this line, they will know that the person that he came from, Kohath, was actually the same descendant that Moses, Aaron, and Miriam came from as well. Just a different descendant from that Kohath. I know this might be a little complex to look at, but this is a comprehensive overview of the Levites. It says the Levitical priesthood. It gives the priesthood, which is comes from Kohath, but it also gives Kohath's other sons. So we know that Kohath was Levi's son, and Kohath himself had 4 sons. We know Amram was Moses, Aaron, and Miriam's father. So that's one son. Another son, Izhar. Notable descendants, Korah. That's a really popular person in the Bible. Asir, and Elkanah. Elkanah, that is who? Samuel's father. So 1 Chronicles chapter 6 verses 22 to 28 gives the breakdown of those descendants of Kohath that were under Korah, his son Korah. So Asir, as we've seen it, Elkanah, there was another Elkanah, not just Samuel's father Elkanah. So that's just like today, you're named after your father, grandfather, whatever. So there was multiple Elkanahs in that lineage. Verse 25 says it, the descendants of Elkanah, and it gives the names, and then it says Elkanah, his son. And then it says Zophai, his son, Nahath, his son, Eliab, his son, and Jehoram, his son. So Elkanah, his son. So you go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like, one of the great was Elkanah, and then Elkanah all the way down. That was Samuel's father. You'll also see that some of the names are spelled differently, so that Zuph is spelled differently in Chronicles than it is in Samuel. It's just another way this stuff trips you up if you don't pay attention. But anyway, I'm looking at the lexicon, and it gives the names, both names. The one that's in Chronicle, which is Zophai, and then Zuph, that's in 1 Samuel. Right there, they are in Hebrew. And they're both there. You see Zuph, and then you see Zophai, which is actually pronounced Zophai. My advice is to get some type of tool that defines the words that are in the Bible, because there are many words that are spelled differently, which are the same place or person. So in addition to the lexicon and the Sefer Bible being very helpful to my research and to find out what Zuph really meant and Zophai, that they were the same thing, I also have a compact Bible dictionary from Zondervan. And you see here, it says Zuph, and it gives all the information that we just discussed. An ancestor of the prophet Samuel. He was a Levite descended from Kohath. And it gives all the information that I just talked about. Now, I didn't even think of this until I did all of these videos and everything like that. And I'm not going to go back and erase or anything like that. I'm going to put it all out here so you can see. Maybe somebody wants to see where to find these scriptures and everything. This right here is a handy dandy trusty thing that everybody should have. A Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. As you can see, it gives the scriptures and everything. So we know that Zuph and Zapho is the same thing. And I'll put the link to where you can purchase one in the description. Also, other words that are different in 1 Samuel and 1 Chronicle, you can look those up and see the matchup. But we know for a fact now that Samuel is a descendant of Levi, and he is from the line of Kohath. So I gave all that information, and you're still probably trying to figure out, how is Zuph or Zopheth an Ephraimite? Why do some translations make it appear that Elkanah is an Ephraimite? As you may see here, even in the Zondervan definition, it shows Elkanah. It says the father of Samuel. He is called an Ephraimite from the place in the hill country of Ephraim, but he appears to have been a Levite. It says the same thing, right? We still don't know. How was Zuph an Ephraimite? Now, here is the answer to the question. So we know that the Levites were not given land. They weren't given specific land, but they were given cities and towns and everything from all the tribes to inhabit and to put their things in. As you see here, it says the Levites were given 48 cities in ancient Israel, which included specific towns and pasture lands, but they did not receive a territorial land allotment like the other tribes. Among these cities, 6 were designated as cities of refuge where individuals could seek asylum. Okay, so what we want to know is which towns were given to the Kohathites, because the Kohathites is where Samuel's bloodline came from. And does this match up with 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 1? Where it says land allotment to the Levites, it says 10 cities for the Kohathites. In Joshua chapter 21, verses 4 through 5, we see that the first lot came out of the Kohathites according to their clan. The Levites who were descendants of Aaron the priest, were allotted 13 towns from the tribes of Judah, Simeon, and Benjamin. So that was the Amram's descendants from Kohath. The Amram was the son. That was Aaron, Moses, and Miriam's father. That was their tribe. The priestly line came from Amram through Aaron. So Aaron's descendants, his two sons, were the ones who carried on the priestly lines, and I'll go into that further detail in another video. So we see in verse 5, it says, the rest of Kohath's descendants were allotted the towns from the clans of the tribes of what? Ephraim, Dan, and half of Manasseh. So this is the answer right here. Why they were called Ephraimites. Why Zuph was called an Ephraimite. Why some translations make it seem that Samuel's father was from the tribe of Ephraim. And down in verses 20 through 26, it goes into specifics about the major towns that they were given. It says the rest of the Kohathite clan of the Levites were allotted towns from the tribe of Ephraim, and then it gives the names of the towns. So this is why they were referred to as Ephraimites in 1 Samuel chapter 1, because they were native to Ephraim's towns, the hill country of Ephraim. If they were native to some towns from Dan, they would have been called Danites. If they were native to some towns from Manasseh, they would have been called Manassites. The point is that these towns were allotted to them from other tribes' inheritance, and that's why they are referred to them as Ephraimites. So that should solve the mystery on that situation. I really hope that this information was helpful in your history research endeavors. Until next time, shalom.